everyone, and welcome back to another Gran Turismo video. I'm going to be talking about race cars because we haven't had any new race cars in ages, like properly new race cars, GT4, GT3, and a lot of people do ask for that every single time. You can go on Twitter, see it constantly under the updates that Gran Turismo release on Twitter, or should I say X, but we still call it Twitter, but yeah, you know. Facebook, etc. It's absolutely everywhere. Where are the new Group 3 and Group 4 race cars? Well, a part of that is obviously going to be due to licensing and them getting the licenses. However, there are some road cars that could quite easily be turned into race cars. Let me explain. Now, Group 3, we can't really do because you have to widen it, add lots of aero. It's not something you can do in-game. However, Group 4 is technically the road car, just turned into a race car with a few extra little bits, like a wing, etc. So how hard is it to actually add Group 4 cars to the game? Well, I thought, you know what? Let's have a look at the modern GT4 list right now, and let's have a look and list all the cars and which cars can we create. And guess what I did? I made them. Or some of them, at least, that I can actually make in the game. So some of you will be like, well, Tidge, you've always talked about removing FF cars. I would love to do that as a part of a video. However, you know, some of them don't have any other alternative in terms of drivetrain in there. So Peugeot don't. Volkswagen don't. Yes, they have the Beetle, but they don't have a modern version of the Beetle. Peugeot, well, they're very much known for front-wheel drive cars. But Audi, well, they do have alternatives. And that's a very different story. So, as you can see, the livery is designed by RTP Dennis, and with regards to the livery, yes, you could say that's the hardest part. It is, actually. There's lots of fantastic liveries out there. I'm not good at making liveries. However, for me, it was all about getting the car competitive in Group 4, and this is where this screen comes in. So I've added a couple of things here: adjustable ECU, ballast, the power restrictor, of course. I did add a fully racing transmission. I'm not sure about that one still. I might look into that further. We also have the LSD there as well. And you can see the setup I've gone with. Now you're probably going, Tidge, why is it set up this way? Why does it have 200 kilos of ballast? Well, I did some bop testing, essentially, at Big Willow. I was going to do it at Road Atlanta this week, which was a fantastic week to do it, and then Big Willow came along for the time trial. I was like, oh, this is even better because there's less chances of it going wrong on a lap. So you can see here a bit more brake system changed there, the brake controller, and then we have weight reduction in there so I could adjust the weight accordingly. Now, if you go to a Group 4 car, it doesn't actually show some of this stuff, but I do believe it still happens in the background. Even so, we're going to go for a lap at Big Willow then. And I did a few laps, okay? I did the Renault Megane Trophy as a benchmark. And we'll have a look at the leaderboard at the very end in terms of those cars and where this Audi sits. Now, the way this drives at the moment in terms of a Group 4 car that I've created is it's a very much a weighty car, I found, in terms of it's got an all-wheel drive system. It doesn't like to rotate too much, and it just felt like it took an age to overturn. Now you're probably going, Tidge, that's a badly set up car. Potentially is. I just took some examples from other Group 4 cars, applied it to the Audi and just went for it, and then I've adjusted the power and the weight accordingly just to get an idea for the car. And guess what? It still drives okay, and it's still competitive because I'm showing you the best lap that I did. Now, I was doing 5 laps. I actually did about 10 laps, I think it was, maybe 11 laps with the Audi, because I did an initial bot test with my setup that I created initially in terms of the weight and power, and it was a bit too slow. So I adjusted it accordingly, and this is the final outcome. Again, you can use this setup and try it out yourself, of course. So we get towards the end of Big Willow. This is a time trial this week, of course. As we're going to here, we're just trail braking into here. Notice it's a bit wide here, but when you go on the accelerator in this car, it just sticks like glue. That all-wheel drive system working very well indeed. Then we head towards the line then. This is a 0.6, I believe, as we jump away then. And again, I'm showing you the leaderboard at the very end of the video, just so you get an idea of testing. I also did a Sophie race, and that's a Sophie race that you're seeing in the background. And guess what? Sophie race with the Audi very well indeed here at Road Atlanta. You know, it's competing with all the Group 4 cars, including another one there that we've created, as we will jump to that in a second. But it was racing well and racing fair. It wasn't dropping back, wasn't going forward too much. Actually, a good race. Without further ado then, we've had a look at that Audi. What else did we make in Group 4? Well, you're seeing it on your screen right now. Let's jump to it. So there you have it. It's the Alpine A110. This livery is by CSR NOS 59,000, which is a bit over 9,000. And once again, it's just a fantastic livery. There you see Sebastian Loeb on it. And again, I went on the collections, just had a look which one would suit best. And this one, it's a really nice livery and was used in Pikes Peak. So, you know, Gran Turismo, always take a livery and apply it to a race car. I've done the same here, but this is what I did to the car then. So the downforce is set at maximum. I did put the weight towards the front there. Now, I'm not too sure whether I should keep it there or not. That's something I tested. In terms of the weight of the car, though, 1,004 kilograms. It's a very light car, and I felt that was needed in order to amplify what the Alpine is all about, which is a lightweight sports car. Now, it's got low power there as well. And on the right side, you can see I've done the weight reduction all the way down to stage 3. Increased body rigidity there as well. But I've not done too much changes. I have added the racing transmission as, again, like I said with the Audi, I'm not too sure about that. I may test that a bit more even so. But this is just to get an idea of how easy or how hard it is to add a Group 4 car into Gran Turismo when the car effectively exists. This is the time trial lap for the Alpine A110 at Big Willow. And one thing I found was the rear was very, very rotating, is probably the best description I can give it. Now, in terms of this corner here, you see a little bit of understeer, then it comes back very nicely as we continue on through. I do feel I need to do a little bit more adjustment to this car, maybe make it a little bit better, as it felt a tiny bit slower compared to the Audi and the other car that I've actually done in terms of this video. But we'll get to that in a second as we go through the right-hander here. Let's see, I'm trying to balance the throttle, similar to the Renault Megane Trophy. This was the second car I did use. Now, coming down here, the bump into there, that was very tricky initially to get right in the Alpine, but it did come better as I continue on through there. A little bit of understeer on the exit. Now, with the Audi and the Alpine, it did feel very much a little bit too much understeer, so there is probably some room there for improvement. I know with the Audi, if you adjust the weight position just slightly, it can really, really make the car very OP very quickly. A bit like the Lamborghini back in the day. So let's come into this final corner in the Alpine. A little bit of over rotation there on the brakes, but we continue on through the right-hander. Just be careful of the bump as we head towards the line then. This is a 117.6, very similar to the other car, but it felt a bit more inconsistent, this one. So as I say, I think there's a tiny bit of improvement to be had there. However, I did chuck this in a Sophie race, as you saw earlier on at Road Atlanta. And do you know what? This is the final lap, I believe, of this race. We've got the Alpine there, we've got the Audi in the background, as well as the Porsche, the Ferrari. I put all the cars in there in terms of Group 4 that will be racing against, or I compared against in terms of the setups. And do you know what? Sophie was racing very cleanly and very fair across the category here. So effectively, this is a Group 4 car. It works. It races in the Group 4 category absolutely fine, as you are seeing in the background. Now, there is one car missing in terms of this particular Sophie race, because Sophie can't actually race that car at the moment. It wasn't a selectable choice. So, without further ado, let's get towards the final car. Then I'll show you the leaderboard, and we'll discuss this a little bit more in terms of Group 4 cars and getting them added into Gran Turismo 7. There you have it. That's the final car, the Aston Martin Vantage GT4 car. And arguably, when the Vantage was introduced in the latest patch, it sort of boosted that video idea up my list that little bit more, because it's a fantastic car. I love the new Vantage. I love the rear that you can see right there. It's got a fantastic rear light there, and it's just better than the old Vantage, which still exists in the game. Now, in terms of the setup, you can see that here, and you can see ballast 200 kilograms. We've had restricted that power as well, because there's a lot of power in the Aston Martin Vantage. There really is, even in the modern day version of the cars. We've had to really, really restrict that. Not as much as the Audi, though, weirdly. Now, in terms of what else we've done to the car, we'll jump to the other side now. You can see the weight reduction there, all the way down to stage 3. Body rigidity there as well. And that is all we've done to the Aston Martin. Now, we've done 3 Group 4 cars there, effectively new Group 4 cars. But where does the Vantage sit on that leaderboard? Well, we're going to go towards that time trial lane at Big Willow, and we'll go around the circuit with the fastest lap that I did. Now, I will say this, the balance of performance for this car was very difficult, because you expect it to have a lot of power, but we restricted that. This car actually turned into a very much a handling car. It handles so well. It just turns in and goes. It was very odd to me, to be honest with you. I mean, look at this. Really accelerating into this right-hander. We're carrying so much speed, and that meant actually doing the balance performance for this one was quite difficult, but we did get there in the end as we continue on through here. You can already see we've already got a 0.6 on the right hand side. as we head up here. And I did suffer a little bit with some oversteer on braking, but it did settle down a little bit as we did adjust the weight accordingly in terms of the bop. As we continue on through here. Now, the bump into here. Now, this was very deadly in this car. You really had to take this nicely. We've still got a bit of oversteer there, you can see. So, it does suffer a little bit with the bumps. But, again, it doesn't matter too much as we continue on out of here then and head towards that final corner. Now, in terms of delivery for this one, I was very much looking for a livery that's exact same as the official GT4 one. I got very close. It was more of a British Racing green, this one, rather than the lighter green version. So that's why I chose this one in terms of the collections. And all the liveries that I've shown today, they're not made by me. I'm not claiming any ownership of them. They're fantastic liveries, far better than anything I could do, which is why I've used them. What I did do with the liveries, though, is I got them and then made sure the spoilers, the end plates, were exactly the same as the GT4 cars or as close to it. Now, in terms of the leaderboard, it's right there then. So the bottom 3 times are sort of my preemptive bop, which of course didn't quite work. And then my improved bops are then above from P5 to P1. You can see they're all very close indeed in terms of fastest laps. So, you know, it's not taking me that long to get a bop. Now, of course, on different circuits, this may change a little bit. But as you saw with the GT Sophie race, that the cars were still racing on a different circuit absolutely fine with Sophie racing them. So it does work. And we added 3 Group 4 cars effectively to that roster very, very, very quickly. Now, why couldn't Sophie race the Vantage in that race? I have no idea, but my assumption is it's because it's a brand new car and Sophie has no idea about it just yet. So in that case, I had to then jump to Willow Springs and I just set up a little race for the AI to do its own thing. And of course, it did its own race, which you're seeing in the background right now. But that didn't take me too long to create 3 Group 4 cars, new cars that could come to Gran Turismo 7 using the existing models that Gran Turismo 7 already has. So I'm not sure why they don't do this, why they don't add the cars, because they would suit Group 4 very nicely. Yes, Alpine doesn't have a Group 3 car, but now does Bugatti, and we have a Veyron Group 4 car. Let's have some nice Group 4 cars added. I'd argue Group 4 actually has better racing because it's slightly slower. I always say the slower the racing, the closer the racing as well, because the faster you go, the harder it is to drive the cars. Even so, 3 new Group 4 cars that could be added to Gran Turismo 7 literally immediately with very little hassle for the PD team. Let's hope they at least add one of those 3 in the very near future because we are very close to another Gran Turismo 7 update. If you have enjoyed this video, as always, make sure you do give it a like, subscribe to the channel to stay in touch with all the latest content. But that is going to be it for me now, folks. I do hope you have enjoyed this very different video and very fun video in terms of the concept all the same. If you've got any ideas for any more GT or Group 4 cars that you want to put down below in the comments, and I'll have a look at them. I might make some more. That's it for me though, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Check out those partners, and I hope to see you in another video or live stream again very soon.